to introduce you to my granddaddy. Ever since I was 6 years old, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents in the summer times on the farm. And one particular summer, my granddad was wanting to cut some trees down on the farm. He managed the farm. His dad, my great-granddad, had retired and he owned the farm. Well, my granddad was real worried about cutting these trees down. And he was worried because my great-granddaddy would be upset about it. And later on, he was upset. My great-granddaddy was mad, and he was pretty upset that my granddad had cut these trees down. Well, my granddad, it affected him. It hurt him for quite some time. And that's because he has a deep respect for his parents. And my granddad is a small farmer. He hasn't done a whole lot of magnificent things, didn't have a great education, but he's had a huge impact in his community. It's a small community. He was just a simple man, but he makes people feel special, and he has that positive impact that a lot of people have demonstrated and shared with me that he's had with them. And you ask, what has he done? How does he make people feel special, and how has he made such a positive impact in the community? Well, it starts with being a family man. My granddaddy has sacrificed and served his family for many years, and he loves his family, and he's all about family. And he loves the family to get together. He has a lot of kids and a lot of grandkids, and there's a lot of us, and he loves the family to get together. And he's such a wonderful man when it comes to his family. And he's worked to maintain a loving relationship with his children. In all that he's done, he's demonstrated a love for his kids. And that extends on to his grandkids and his great-grandkids. He's shown that loving relationship. He's also shown and demonstrated a fairness in providing discipline. I remember one story where somebody was telling me about my Uncle James getting caught racing cars. And he came to my granddad and said, "You're going to probably want to take my license from me." And Granddaddy thought about it and he said, "Well, the actual court's probably going to take your license from you, so you might as well hold on to them for the next day or two until they make the decision." And I've heard how it had a big impact on my Uncle James. But my granddad was always fair. He was very fair with how he did discipline. According to Philip Lancaster, in his book, Family Man, Family Leader, he says that fathers should win the hearts of his children through a loving relationship by demonstrating justice, sacrifice, and service. Well, my granddaddy's done that. He's demonstrated sacrifice, justice, and service to his family. And he's won the hearts of his family because he's demonstrated that loving relationship. As a family man, he's also made it a priority to spend time with his family. And all these functions that we get together, our family has lots of reunions and lots of special times we get together. But even when he was raising his children, he managed a small farm and he required the family to work together, and they spent time together. And he got the family together to go to church together. They sang in funerals and weddings, and they did a lot of things together as a family because he's made it a priority to spend time together as a family. Carrie Schmidt thinks it's so important in his book, Hook, Line, and Sinker, that he's dedicated an entire chapter to the fact that a man needs to spend time with his family. And my granddaddy has demonstrated that. So what about making people feel special? How's he done that? Well, Granddaddy has always got a special way of making people feel special. I can remember one specific time where, when I was in the Navy, I brought home a friend of mine from the service. And we spent the weekend, nothing special about the weekend, but after the weekend was over, when we were driving down the path to leave, my friend started crying. Well, while he was crying, I had to ask him, "What's wrong, Jim? Why are you upset?" He said, "Your granddaddy made me feel like the most special person there. He made me feel like a part of the family." And I've heard other family members talk about how their friends have felt the same way. They may not have cried and may not have expressed that emotion, but he's always making people feel special, no matter who you are. So what's significant about Granddaddy that makes him so devoted to his family and making people feel special? I think it's a continual rejoicing. There's a continual rejoicing in his heart. He always, he's constantly displays his love for others, and he's almost always heard singing. Somewhere around, if he's getting ready, or if he's on his way to church, or whatever he's doing, he's always humming a song, or he's always got this positive attitude that invites people to come to him. And people get excited about that. He constantly displays a love for others. Because of his deep faith and commitment to God, he's constantly rejoicing. And George Duncan wrote in an entire book about this type of attitude. And it's called The Life of a Continual Rejoicing. And I believe my granddad has shown that. And he's helped others with a cheerful attitude. That cheerful attitude, by the time he was 26, he was ordained as a deacon. That's a young man to be ordained as a deacon, for people to put that much trust in a man of that age. And he spent 56 years as a deacon. And all this time, people have trusted that he's going to make the right kind of decisions. He served on the volunteer fire department. He's helped in the community by spending time on the volunteer fire department. In all those summers I spent riding on the fender of a tractor, I would see him take time out to serve. We would be out in the field somewhere, and he could see somebody from a distance, and he'd stop what we were doing, and he'd go over there to help him and talk for a moment. He would always do special things like that. When he needed to get his crops in the field or get them out of the field, he would stop and do what he needed to do to help somebody else. He's just that kind of guy. He's demonstrated himself to be that type of person. And finally, I'd like to share this. In concluding, he's demonstrated himself to be a devoted family man, somebody that loves his family. He's continually makes people feel special. He's always doing that. There's a continual rejoicing that's in his heart. And he's always looking to help somebody else in the way he talks to them, in the way he serves them, and whatever it is. He's always looking to help someone else. Now that I've moved back to this area, people are always wanting to share with me how blessed I am to have my granddaddy, Edgar Johnson. And they're right. Whenever I mention his name, people, you can see this light up. Their faces light up that I'm a part of his family. My granddad is a special man, and he deserves to be commemorated.